Hey y'all, and welcome to Skyrim Scripting. On this episode, we're going to show you how you can trigger some of your code whenever something happens to the player. So if they die, if they get hit, if they pick up an item, any of those types of things. If they load a game, that's kind of different, but I want to make sure we touch on that one as well. So let's get started. As always, I'm going to make a mod using Mod Organizer 2. I'm just going to say create empty mod and give it a name. I'm going to do a mod that I've made in a bunch of tutorials before. All it does is whenever the player picks up something, it prints out a line of text. So I call it pickup lines. Cool. So pickup lines, and I'm just going to copy that. We're going to use it in a couple places, and I'm going to tell creation kit, because we're using Mod Organizer 2, which you don't have to save all of its files into the pickup lines mod. And of course you can use creation kit without Mod Organizer 2. Do it however you would like. We went over some of that in episode 1 of this beginner series. So let's save our mod. Gonna call it pickup lines, and let's make a player reference. I wonder if this works without I don't think this works without loading Skyrim. It might. Kind of want to find out. It doesn't. I'm going to load Skyrim. We need a reference to the player, and I think the player is defined inside of the Skyrim master file. I could be wrong though. We're loading Skyrim. So now it means when we go to quest, we've got all the Skyrim quests. Ta-da! Which is totally fine. We're going to make a new quest. We're going to call it Pickup Lines Quest. And as always, hit enter or press OK to close it before we open it back up. And you can always do a filter. That's why I love having the prefix for your mod copied onto my clipboard so that I can just always paste it into the filter. And now we're going to open it up. We see all these extra tabs, and we are going to make a quest alias. We haven't made this before. The two easiest ways to attach a script to the player so that you can get events for the player are, one, creating this thing called a reference alias attached to a quest alias. It's kind of the easiest way. You can't turn those scripts easily on and off. Not as easily as if you use an active magic effect. That is what we're going to do next episode. Yeah! So that we can do stuff like have a script run only when the player is crouching, but not when they're standing. That would be a little bit harder to do with this. So we are going to quest aliases, and then right-click New Reference Alias, and then once it comes up, we're going to type player ref into the alias name, player ref, ref. Then we go to fill type, specific reference, select force reference, cell any, and it should auto-populate the player reference here. Otherwise, choose it from player ref. And hit OK. And now we're going to associate a script with the player. So add over in Papyrus scripts. And we are going to click on new script. New script. Now, for once, it doesn't actually pre-populate that extends box. So we're going to type in our own thing. We're going to type in reference alias, all one word, reference alias. And then for the name, we can give it like pickup lines player script. That's what I like to do. And ignore everything else. And yeah, hit OK. You can, I would hit OK before you start editing that script. But for the rest of this episode, you can just right-click here, edit source, and edit this box. But I'm going to head on over to Visual Studio Code, and I'll be right back. Oakley dokley, here I am in the Pickup Lines player script, which you can edit using edit source. Now before you do that, you might want to hit OK to close the quest, and then hit save in the upper left to save the plugin. And then open the quest back up and open up the script again. Here we go. So let's do something when the player picks something up. I also want to not forget that I want to show you how to use this to run some code when the player loads the game. Could you use this to do that as well? So let's go over to creationkit.com. And once it loads, left for Skyrim, not right for Fallout, and then go to the scripting reference and then scroll down until it says subcategories, and we want to go to the events subcategory. And here are all the events, except for there's mods that define extra events in a different way. But these are the default events that just work. So we can look at things like, I don't know, death. On death, let's open up that one. Let's look for hit. On hit, let's open up that one. Let's go to item added. Ooh, let's open up that one. And let's do all of those ones. You can do when they sit down. That'd be cute. There's all kinds of stuff you can do in here. All kinds of stuff. So, we are going to start off with whenever they pick up an item. Now, this may seem a little confusing because the way that the words are written here, it says, event received when an item is inserted into this object's container. It's kind of dirty. Well, the actor isn't really a container, right? But they are. Anything that's got stuff, be it the player or an NPC or a treasure chest or a barrel or a rat, they all, skeever, whatever, they've all got stuff. So they're all treated as containers for this purpose. So we can just grab this event. There's a little description of what each one of the arguments is and represents. On item added gets past the base item itself. Like for that it would be iron sword. And then how many, the item count. And then sometimes it'll have a reference to a specific item. I feel like that's usually none for me. That's null. But I think if it's a quest object or something that there's only one instance of in the world, that'll be populated with that one instance of it in the world. And then a reference to the actual container. So if you just drop the item on the floor and pick it up, there won't be a container. But if you steal from a treasure chest, or I guess loot a treasure chest, then the container will be the treasure chest. If an NPC gives you something, or you take something from an NPC, the container will be that NPC, because they represent a container. So we're just going to take this. Yoink. Paste. It is quite long, but we can shorten some things up. We'll say the form is the item. We'll call the counts just count. And we're actually not going to look at these other parameters, so we don't care about them. And let's just do like a debug.messageBox. You picked up, and we'll say like maybe how many you picked up. We'll do like you picked up 5 times iron helmets. So 5 times iron helmet. And so here we'll put the count. So I'm just going to put some extra quotes. Does that make sense? You picked up, in double quotes, plus the count, plus the rest of the string. But it's not an iron helmet, so we're going to put the name of the item. And item.getName. Now, if you watched the last episode on SKSE, you hopefully have SKSE installed, so you will be able to do get name, and this will work. But for me in Visual Studio Code, the way I have things set up, I have to go into this extra little file and I have to say we are using SKSE. Boop, 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 and then in like a couple seconds, kind of like has to load up SKSE or whatever, and now I can see get name. Ta-da! Ta-da! You can Control-S, save, and if you're in that edit source box, it'll compile and hopefully successfully. If it says can't find get name, then make sure you've got SKSE installed. We covered that in the episode in this playlist right before this. Otherwise, just double check that your code looks like this. There's the full code. And I'm going to compile the way that I do in VS Code, and we are headed in game, and you're going to want to run the game with SKSE, otherwise get name will not work. So I'm headed over to Mod Organizer 2, and I want to make sure that I actually turn on the plugin pickup lines, and I'm going to run with SKSE installed. If you copied and pasted all the SKSE files directly into your data directory, you won't have something like this. Now actually, the way that COC works, when you COC somewhere, like just COC from the base menu like this, it creates a player. They get a bunch of stuff by default, but then a script runs that adds a couple of items to the player. So we're actually going to see it pop up right away, even though we haven't picked up anything. You picked up one iron helmet, one iron gauntlets, one iron boots, one iron whatever. Cool. Let's go to our weapons and drop like 23 arrows and a longbow. You picked up one longbow. You picked up 23 arrows. Ta-da! And I'm gonna peace out. Now, although I could have used reload script. Let's add some more events. I just want to show you some more events. Let's go to when you get hit. Well, get hit takes a lot of parameters. Who the attacker was, what the like weapon or spell or something was that was the cause of the getting hit, projectile if there was one, was this a power attack, a sneak attack, a bash attack, was the hit actually blocked, all kinds of stuff. This one's long. You can actually see it for the first time, an example of how you this little slash actually works in Skyrim scripts. We're going to paste this in, zoom way out. You can see that this little slash is on the end, and if you want to, in things like event or function parameters and elsewhere, you can add these little slashes. It has to be that type of slash, not this type of slash, that type of slash, and it'll let you put stuff on new lines. Kind of cool. So, like, I'm pretty sure this would work as well. Oop. Sometimes it helps so that the line doesn't get really long. So whenever you get hit, we're going to say debug.messagebox. Debug. Oh noes. You were hit by, and we'll say the aggressor, aka aggressor, dot get name. Ta-da! So that's the full code so far. And once we start a fight, we might die. So let's go to on death. Very sad. Here's on death. It takes who your killer was as a parameter. Woo! Woo! Make our player die. Die, player, die. And there we're just going to say news. You were killed by space and AK killer dot get name. And this is just the name that they give it by default. We could say aggressor or attacker. Whatever. That's just the name that is on creationkit.com as an example. We can just say killer. And killer. The only gotcha is you can't call a parameter like spell. You can't call a parameter like actor. You can't call it message is a thing to watch out for. Your parameter and variable names can't be the same as like other objects that exist in the game. Save build. For you, just Control S save. Head back in the game, or you could have stayed in game and used reload script as I taught you before, and you could reload script. What is this called? Pickup lines player script. So you'll see Riverwood. It's going to tell us that we picked up stuff. because that's how the script works. It says you picked up these things. Ooh, it's raining. I like it when it's raining. I'm going to hit stuff. Hit people. I don't want to hit with my axe. It's kind of
What?
although they're going to kill me, so let's use it
now, Mother?
fisticuffs.
Mercy!
Oh no, you were hit by. Oh, here's a gotcha. Here's a gotcha. Let's go back to our codes. We saw this in the last episode. When we had an object reference, and this is the same for an actor as well. Same in both cases. If you have like an instance of a sword and you say sword.getName, like if it's an object reference.getName, it won't give you the name. It'll just give you empty. If you've got an actor and you say actor.getName, it won't give you a name. You need to get the base actor. So what we do is this. We say, we'll just say like form base attacker or actor base equals attacker dot get base object dot get name. Ooh, just how about just string attacker name, and then we'll say attacker name. We saw this in the last episode. We had to do get base object. That was the SKSE episode. We'll do the same thing with killer. We'll say string killer name, and we'll say killer.getBaseObject.getName. And we'll say killer name. Ta-da! Save. Build. Now let's try our reload script, pickup lines, player script. Reload script, pickup lines, player script. Let's wait to get hit again. Ooh, we picked up a steel arrow. Okay, okay. We were hit apparently. And in that case it said, oh no, you were hit by, and it's the archer behind us. Now we were hit by Sven. Who's the archer guy? Sven, here's, what's this guy's name?
Disgrace to your own kind!
You're hit by Hollow. Come on, kill me.
Why you smear?
Almost dead. What's this one? Give me that big ol' hammer. Oh, oh no. Okay, this says hit. Let's wait for it. And now hit again by elbow. Hit by elbow. Hit by elbow. Hit by
Sign up.
oh no. Oh no. You hit by elbow. Oh no. How sad. Let's peace out. And yeah. Ta-da! Player scripts. The easiest way to attach stuff to a player is make a quest. Go to quest alias, new reference alias, call it player ref. Go to fill type, specific reference, select forced reference, sell any. It'll auto-populate player ref, attach a script, and then you can add events to it. You'll get used to it. You'll do it so many times. So many times. You can also, on that same quest alias page, it shows you a little box for inventory and a little box for spells. And if you right click and add things into the inventory or spells, use add or new instead of new. If you say new, it'll bring you to the new spell dialog. You can add spells and inventory in those boxes, and it'll add it to the player at the beginning of the game. Ta-da! But I don't think it'll tell you. It doesn't say in the upper left. That's why I sometimes use a quest script to add stuff. Whatever. Next time on Skyrim scripting, we are going to show you how to attach scripts to the player using active magic effects. I like to do that because it's easier to set conditions on the active magical effect, so that, for example, you can say this effect is only true when the player is crouching, and then if they stand up, it gives you an opportunity to say like, oh, your effect is over, it's no longer doing something. So Alright, peace. And as always, happy modding, everyone. Alright, bye-bye.